Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, April the 1st, and it is the start of International Poetry Month. But I'm not here to talk poetry today. Interestingly, I'm here to talk about drama, and more specifically, to look at the difference between a soliloquy and an aside. Now, both are similar because they represent a speech given by an actor or actress on a stage. But the difference between the two is, first of all, the length. The aside, of course, is a much shorter speech. Generally, it is one or two sentences. It is given when an actor is on a stage with other actors, but the actor kind of breaks away from a conversation with or among the other actors and says something. The actor says something which reveals his inner thoughts or feelings. And it is intended for the audience to be privy to these inner thoughts or feelings. It's kind of like he is telling the audience a little secret that the other actors on stage are not aware of. Now, in drama, when a character speaks to himself or herself and there is no other character present on the stage, this is called a soliloquy. However, when there are other characters on the stage and the speaker speaks to himself, but his speech is not heard by any of the other characters on the stage, but rather the speech is intended for the audience to hear, this is what we call an aside. Let's look at some examples to illustrate the difference between an aside and a soliloquy. Now, I'm a lover of Shakespeare's work, so I'm going to use some of Shakespeare's plays to illustrate the difference between an aside and a soliloquy. Now, in Merchant of Venice, that would be Act 1, Scene 3, Bassanio meets with Shylock, and Bassanio is petitioning on behalf of Antonio, who is his friend, as Bassanio tries to get a loan from the moneylender Shylock. Now, Shylock is a Jew, and as Bassanio is trying to get a loan to help his friend Antonio, who is a Christian, Bassanio says to Shylock at one point, "Would you like to meet with myself and Antonio?" Shylock says yes. At this point now, Antonio enters. And Shylock, in an aside, he says, "How like a fawning publican he looks. I hate him, for he's a Christian." Now here we have Shylock letting the audience be aware of the fact that Christians and Jews are enemies. And of course, as we delve more into that drama, we learn why Shylock resents Antonio so much. Now let's talk about a soliloquy. Let's first start with Hamlet. Do you know Hamlet's famous speech, "To be or not to be"? That is a question. Now, that very lengthy speech is an example of a soliloquy. Let's take another example of soliloquy. There's a story of the young lovers, Romeo and Juliet. Now, in Act 2, Scene 2, Romeo is hiding in the shadows when he sees Juliet. He marvels at her radiance and he compares her to the sun and he speaks the infamous lines which says, "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east and Juliet is the sun." Unaware of Romeo's presence below, Juliet speaks her own famous lines. She speaks aloud, questioning, why is it that Romeo must be her enemy. She says to herself, that which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. If only Romeo had a different name, then he wouldn't have to be her enemy now. This is an example of soliloquy. Now that you know the difference, let's revise it once more. So in drama, the aside is a very short speech, usually about a sentence or two long. And this speech is given when an actor breaks away from other actors on stage as there is a conversation taking place. Now, this breaking away is what we call breaking of the fourth wall. Yes, that's another terminology that we give to an aside. Now, in this breaking away of the fourth wall, it's kind of like the actor is telling the audience a little secret. The soliloquy, on the other hand, is a long, long speech made by a lone actor or actress on a stage. If you want to hear more of this content, please subscribe to my channel, Brain Edibles Collection. I'm Marguerite Anderson, teacher of literature and English.